Okay.
Welcome to Talkabout tonight. It's only rock and roll, or is it? I guess our students of Countesthorpe College in Leicester. And two very special guests. Very appropriate indeed. Pop music from M to kick off our discussion tonight on Talkabout It's Only Rock and Roll. And the guests are Countesthorpe College from Leicester, most of whom are musicians themselves, which we shall discover later on. And also, their very special guests, Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran and Jake Burns from Stiff Little Fingers. Welcome to both of you to talk about. Simon's looking a little pale at the moment. He just knocked himself senseless 5 minutes ago, rushing from the
all right,
the
that's
place.
enough. Let's get on with the show.
But he's feeling better now, and to face some interesting questions later on. As I say, we have a lot of musicians here tonight, and in fact the records, which are always chosen by Talkabout guests, are records that have been, or tapes that have been made by the school themselves, which I found very interesting. So, a little bit later on that. But a question to get you thinking about this whole subject of rock and roll. Who creates the pop stars? Is it the musicians themselves? Is it the record companies, the media, or the audience? Michael?
Well, I think that when you're talking about artists who ride the crest of a wave or come into the pop scene, music scene for a few years or less than that, and do it by riding a fashion, and not particularly by originality, which I think is very important in music, and by no direction really of their own, but by things that have already been put down before, following old paths. And I think that the media plays a very big part in it, in making them.
Do you have anybody in mind? Hopefully not our guest today.
Well, to be honest, I'm not really familiar with the music that the guests play. I mean, I've heard Duran Duran on the radio, seen Stiff Little Fingers on the old Grover's Test and stuff. But I can see differences in the two just from what I've heard and seen there. I mean, Duran Duran to me sounds a bit too plastic for my liking.
Fine. Paula, who is sitting next to Michael?
BBC don't help matters anymore because they don't play things which are commercially acceptable or fashionable until after 10 o'clock at night, say the John Peel show, which I think doesn't cater for most people. You don't cater for most people during the day, but you probably cater for most of them.
Well, what do you think that most people want to hear then?
Well, I just think you should give other bands a chance. I mean, you've got the two like groups. You've people that listen to like heavy rock, heavy metal, and you've got the people that waver in the middle where they just listen to anything that the radio sticks out on the air.
There are a lot of people who are at home all day who possibly would disagree with you. I know the subject we're going to get into any minute now. If certainly in the next 55 minutes is does radio dictate, you know, the music that gets in the charts, or is it the other way around, and so on. But meanwhile, Claire.
As Adja was saying, the media seem to make a lot of the groups, but I think it's the size of the record company that a group is with. You know, a small record company can't perhaps afford to promote a band, whereas a large one, I won't name any, but they can afford to pay hype in the tune.
Hype, eh? Right, Claire. Karen.
Well, going back to what Paula was saying, I think the radio do tend to play a lot of kind of disco-y music in the daytime, which everybody says that, you know, that caters for the general public, but it's only catering for them because it's played all the day. I mean, if they started playing heavy metal or, you know, something like that every other day, then they'd get used to that as well.
Jake Burns, you've had your records played a lot on Radio 1. What is your attitude towards it?
Can I just say rubbish to the last speaker but one? Because she said that the size of the record company dictates the size of sales. I think that's absolute nonsense. Because we were with Rough Trade when we recorded our first album, who are an absolutely wonderful North London collective, which is a free plug on Radio 1. I expect a free album from them for it. No, I think, you know, they did a lot of work for us, and we did without a halfpenny of advertising, and without anybody knowing who Rough Trade Records were. Our first album went straight into the British charts at number 14. And I think that makes absolute nonsense of anybody saying that the size of the record company dictates the higher...
Sure, but you're in a position to know that, and a lot of people aren't, so I'm very pleased you've had the opportunity to say that and perhaps put the record straight.
Well, come on, I mean, I can't possibly be the only person in a position to know that, because I didn't buy the bloody album. I got it for nothing. A lot of people must have known that. They put the album where it was, you know.
Simon, was your experience similar?
Well,
Duran Duran, I mean, you are with EMI.
We were a huge company, EMI, and we still haven't had a number one.
So you don't think it works either way?
We don't worry about it.
Gentleman in the red jumper whose name I can't read. Peter.
Well, I'd like to go back to that about hyping. And I'd say big groups don't need it. It's the little groups that need it more, because I mean, like Adam and the Ants or Duran Duran, they don't need hyping because they're going to go straight in eye, aren't they?
Well, the way you said that, it's as though you're suggesting that hyping is a good thing at all. Do you think so?
I'm not sure whether it's a good thing, but I think a lot of groups need it to get going.
I mean, could you define for me what you think hyping means?
Well, I saw a programme on telly about it. It's where they go round to record shops, or the BBC ones, and ask them to put a few ticks on the name and bribe them with a few albums or something.
Right, so having appreciated that, you still think it would be justified in some instances?
Not saying it's justified, but I'm saying I think that's how a lot of records do well.
Right, is it possible, I don't know who wants, lots of hands up here, for a band to be successful without being commercial? Claire?
I think that I don't think hyping is justified at all, because sometimes the band themselves don't know. If they got to number one, they think great, but then they find out that they've been hyped. I mean, it's just not fair. I mean, saying that the big bands don't need hyping, but how have they got there without having a lot of money spent on promotion and perhaps part hype?
I have to go back to Jake at this point. Was Stiff Little Fingers ever hyped?
Well, no. We never actually spent a halfpenny on promotion, but I think I really disagreed with Claire, and I've got to agree with her that a lot of bands are hyped. I know a lot of friends of mine who play in bands have been hyped, and I mean, I've talked to people who've been like at sort of number 2 in the charts, and they've sort of said, we don't deserve it. And I said, well, I've been out with them sort of celebrating the fact that they're at number 2 in the charts, and we've been there sort of, we're already out of our brains, having spent the night getting drunk, celebrating their number 2 hit, and they've said, we don't deserve to be at number 2, and I said, don't be stupid, of course you do. And they said,
okay.
No, the record company paid for it.
Right, well, let's leave that for a moment, because there's a lot of other aspects of this which I want to talk to you about. Do you think, and I may stand guilty here, I write a newspaper column about rock music, I'm involved with a television programme about rock music, so you can hurl insults at me if you like, but do you think that the media encourages stereotyping and in that sense stops new music being heard? Who feels it, Paula?
It's once you've got a craze in, like futurists or what have you, it's very difficult to get rid of that craze and create something new, some new kind of music. It's very difficult, I think, for other bands to break in once there's a fashion set already.
Simon, what do you feel about that?
I don't know. I mean, you can turn the radio on and you can listen for half an hour. It's the most mindless load of rubbish. Sometimes, other times you hear really good things, you know.
But I mean,
stereotyping. The fact is, what a lot of people forget is what they personally really want to hear is maybe very obscure, and maybe not many other people do want to hear it. And if you're a DJ, then you have to play what you think most people are going to want to hear.
Do you agree with that?
I mean, I don't think that you can say how the BBC choose the records and what they play is wrong. You can't do that, but what we're doing is just pointing out the ways that it could be and the differences that we think could be made.
Well, I'm trying to keep off Radio 1 just for a bit, because I think it's been discussed so much, and I think there's other areas of the media which perhaps are influenced or are influencing you, like the music press. The lady at the back, I mean, what about the media? Do you think that it is guilty of influencing your opinion about a band?
It doesn't influence mine, because I don't read it that often, but, like, I hate to quote the NME, but it's always the Jam, the Jam, the Jam, and other papers are Adam and the Ants, when Adam and the Ants' last album wasn't very good, yet everybody thought it's going to be brilliant, because everybody on...
So you don't trust that... Well, I don't think they did, to be fair.
Well, you heard a lot about this new Adam and the Ants album coming out before it even came out.
Well, that's surely just because they are very, very popular.
Are they?
You don't think so? No. You don't think that, and that's what... I want to talk to the musicians among you, if someone could put their hand up, because there are several bands who are members of your college. So, Michael, I might have guessed. Yes. As a musician, do you feel that... Obviously, do you want to become professional when you leave your college?
Well, I'd just like to say that anybody can hype us any day, you know. when it comes to seeing all the, to knowing that you're going to make it... I mean, I'm not just interested in making a success out of it. I mean, I feel now that I'd be perfectly happy just to make a living out of it. I mean, that probably does change as you get further along the road, but like I say, I mean, I wouldn't mind being hyped. I wouldn't... I wouldn't object to it, but yeah.
You would.
You think I would?
Yeah.
What happens then? Does it just sort of... Do you end up crashing to the ground or something?
I don't know. This is judging by friends of mine who have been hiked. You wind up, you get one hit, and you wind up absolutely screwed up because people expect you to follow it up. And what happens is the record company pays the money, makes you a big star for like 2 weeks, and then pulls all their money out and expects you to be a big star after that. And of course you can't do it.
Very, very good point. We have a disc jockey here, I believe. Judith, would you like to? It's particularly interesting that the music you've chosen tonight has either come from your own school, or I believe this record that you've chosen was a band that were at your school. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And can you tell me anything about them?
Well, they used to be at our school, and they originated from our school.
Mm-hmm. And are they working all the time, do you know? I mean...
No, they're not working at the moment, no.
Well, let's hope they are soon. Anyway, they're now going to perhaps get their debut on Radio 1. They're called Future Toys, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a record from the Leicester band and called Future Toys, and they started off from the Countesthorpe College. And this single's called Dancing Undercover, dedicated to all the boys at 1 of 4 members. Everyone in the A-level design group, Steve Parker, Nigel, Liz at Sunset Garage.
And that's it?
Yeah, that's it.
This is Dancing Undercover. Dancing Undercover from Future Toys, a Leicester band who are ex-pupils of Countesthorpe College, Leicester. Several dozen of whom are in a Talkabout studio tonight with their guests Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran and Jake Burns from Stiff Little Fingers. We're talking about rock and roll, and we're talking about the media. I want to stick with media for a minute because I'd like to ask you if there's any radio, TV programme or music paper which you think gives an honest reflection of our music industry. A lady who's got Boston College written all over her. Sally.
Oh, I don't know about that. What I was going to say was I feel the music press have the same problem whereby they have to print what is going to sell newspapers, and therefore that is going to reflect what is popular, and it's very difficult to put a headline on a brand new group because it's not going to sell papers. It's just a vicious circle.
I think most music papers are biased towards
some of them don't like heavy metal, some of them don't like new wave or more obscure type of music. So it's just the same as radio or anything else, really.
But don't you think that they're specialising? I mean, Melody Maker was always a jazz paper. You know, it's been going 50 years now, and it still has to cater for jazz, it has to cater for country music, it has to cater for a lot of things, and it's regarded as the more conservative. But as against that, you have got a choice, and we have a very wide choice of music press in this country. Don't you think so?
Oops. Well, I'd like to say, how can the music papers just give an opinion which everyone agrees with? They have to write reviews about what they think. And it's just like me thinking that so-and-so are good and so-and-so aren't good. And people are going to say they're biased, whatever they say.
That's very sort of sympathetic. I have somebody else who wants to add to that.
Yeah, I think the main problem you're always going to come up against with the music press and the media and the television is the fact that they're all the people who run these media. They're always going to want to sell papers, they're going to want to sell television, independent television, they're going to want to sell space. They're not going to want the not so popular stuff. So I think that people in the NME, the Melody Maker, they're going to have to put things in that people want to buy papers. I mean, you know...
Well, just to pick up your point on television, I don't know if you've seen a programme called Riverside. Have any of you seen Riverside? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
I think
the premise of that programme is you're not allowed to be on it if you've ever been on television before.
Well, I think that's the point. That's the difference between the BBC and the independent television.
Oh, thank you very much.
The BBC should, in fact, be able to have more scope in the music they put on, because on independent television they're very much governed by what advertisers want to go on. I mean, the advertisers aren't going to want to go next to Riverside. I mean, you're not going to sell soap powder next to some of the stuff that's on Riverside. I think the BBC could be a bit more adventurous on what they put on.
I'd like to ask our guests tonight, but just to go back to the music press, Simon Le Bon, what's been your experience of the music press and what's your opinion about it?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a lot of different papers around, and each of them, like we said before, does tend to cater for a different kind of section of music. There was a time when I used to really hate them.
Why?
Because at one point it seemed to me, they're writing a load of rubbish. It's not constructive, the criticism. They make personal, nasty comments. But then you get to a point where you just don't care anymore because it's only somebody else's opinion. And also there's people saying nice things about you at the same time. On the way sort of you look at it when you want to buy a paper, I like pop music, so I buy pop music papers.
Would you define which ones you think are pop music
I like
papers?
sort of glossy ones, like Smash Hits, and, well, they put lots of pictures of us in, you see. So...
Jake Burns.
I think you could actually name a band per paper.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, please do. This would be fun.
Oh, dead easy. The Enemy, The Jam. Sounds, Iron Maiden. Melody Maker. Soft Machine, if they were still alive.
Dire
Level
Straits.
42.
Dire Straits, yeah. Elvis Costello on his last phase, but before he was much too dangerous. I mean, that's taking the main papers. Smash Hits, yes, Duran.
Main papers. Smash Hits sells more papers than any other one does.
Was I knocking you?
No, not at all.
All right, boys, now you've got me squabbling.
No, I mean, that sort of thing, you know, I mean, you're... also people sort of cater to a certain market, and I think that certain papers have to. I mean, let's face it, they're in the same market as we are. They've got to sell. We've got to sell records. They've got to sell papers. And I think if they are contentious on a certain band, I mean, for a time the Enemy loved the Boomtown Rats, and now the Boomtown Rats are like, you know, who the hell are the Boomtown Rats? No, they don't want to know, but they still sell a lot of papers to the NME.
I think it's something like Smash Hits is aimed at teenagers who read it and read about what colour your hair is and what they like, know what you want to eat and that lot, and they immediately rush out and buy your record, and they want to know as much about you as possible. And the whole thing is aimed at teenagers who will go out and spend their money.
Don't you think Smash Hits sells just because it's got, you know, glossy pictures in it? I mean, everybody loves the images, don't they? They like to have the pictures sticking on their wall.
Do you think that's wrong?
I don't think it's wrong, but you don't have so much literature in stuff like Smash Hits, do you? I mean, in the NME or anything like that. I mean, it's literally, it's all writing, isn't it? I mean, you don't get that many pictures, and in Smash Hits, it's all glossy photos.
I find it very annoying and sad that music's been turned into an industry and the entertainment is just being lost. I mean, if you just... I just find it really sad.
Well, what can be done about that? I mean, that's a very interesting statement, Penny.
I don't know.
I mean, OK, it's an industry, and I take your point, but in what sense do you think the entertainment value is lost because of that?
Just that it's narrow-minded. A lot of it is narrow-minded. Say, Top of the Pops, they won't show any... Well, they show one that is a new single into the charts. They show everything that's in the charts. They don't show anything outside the charts, like Riverside.
Well, because it's called Top of the Pops, and I suppose if they played things which were bottom of the pops, there'd be trouble.
If I could just go back to the point about the radio, people said, oh, they cater for housewives, but there are over 3 million unemployed, and a lot of those are young people. I think they ought to cater for those young people who like more than disco and heavy metal and this kind of thing.
What would you like to hear?
More Echo and the Bunnymen.
Oh, a thumbs up from Jake, most definitely. Do we have another disc jockey? Well, I think we do.
Mine's Paul. This is another Leicester band called Standing Room Only, and they originated from Countesthorpe College, and they had a single out entitled Still Looking for Jane. And I'd like to dedicate this to everybody at Countesthorpe College, and Denise in Cheshire, Tracy in Peterborough, plus all my family up in sunny Leicester.
Very nice, too. Here it is for another Leicester band.
I get the feeling I'm being left out. She just wouldn't go, she's somewhere about. No man, she wouldn't blow me out. She ain't that kind of girl. Oh, I should know. Where'd she go, where'd she go? I don't know. And I'm still looking for Jane, having everywhere. I'm still looking for Jane, for Jane. Places she liked a bit, never know where she really is. Taking her out was never really it, till I took her home. Crying so loud, I could spread it in half, spread it in half. I'm still looking for Jane, I've been everywhere. I'm still looking for Jane,
Still looking for Jane from Standing Room Only, who are, did you say ex-pupils of Countesthorpe College? Or are they current pupils?
Yeah, they've all been to Countesthorpe College.
So they are ex-pupils?
Yeah, that's right.
Right, and you have at least 3 bands already, so 3 more, ready to roll, is that right? And I believe you're one of them.
The Whippets. Yeah, there's at least 3. I mean, bands are coming through Countesthorpe all the time, and have been since the beginning 10 years ago.
Why is that? Is it particularly encouraged?
Yeah. The way the music block is run by a guy called Mount Nichols is very much along the lines to make the kids play the music that they want to play, rather than, say, being forced to play classical stuff and violins and to the school orchestra.
That's an encouraging sign. I think a lot of people would be clamouring to go to your particular college. A point I want to go back to is, which came up a few minutes ago from Karen, which was, is music art? I think, you know, there's been a lot of carping tonight about the music industry, and it's a business, and it's all taking all the fun out of it. Do you think it should be treated, Karen, as an art form?
Well, what I was talking about was the entertainment side of it, as far as stage shows with people, for example, Kiss, who go overboard with makeup and stage shows. I think they're cashing in on that sort of side rather than music. I don't find the music particularly brilliant.
I think even though they might be cashing in or something, it's an entertainment. It's just a visual entertainment, as opposed to being purely music, you know.
What about video, then? You brought me very neatly into that subject. Do you think videos are selling records in a way that possibly isn't justified?
I mean, the way that videos differ from live shows is that a live show is an entertainment thing. And as long as the band don't pretend that it's anything else, then that's innocent. But videos are a selling means. They're not an entertaining thing, really, I don't think, for the few minutes that they're on. I mean, there's an awful lot of money spent on videos, which is just for selling.
Do you think it's dishonest?
No, I wouldn't like to say that any of this is dishonest, because I really don't know. But perhaps maybe it is dishonest. I don't know.
Right, over to the other side of the room.
Well, in my opinion, I think that most people go to see bands like Kiss because the stage show is spectacular and it's worth the money just to see the stage show. Like a band, Crocus, have just been at Leicester and the music was all right, but the stage show is fantastic, and that's most people can remember, the fantastic stage show.
So you think that would cover a multitude of
sins?
sins?
I wouldn't mind just paying just to see a really good stage show than a really weak sort of musician.
Well, that's very interesting. Duran Duran, stiff little fingers, please note.
No, would she buy a record? She just said yes, which immediately shuts my mouth. But having said that, I think that... what's the point? No, I think that videos, for example, are a terribly clever way of selling a band. I don't think they're a con. I don't think they're selling anybody short. Having said that, I think they are setting a band in a situation wherein they cannot ever reproduce that situation on stage. You've got like, let's pick a video for instance, Ghost Town by the Specials. We've got like a band shooting through town in a car, so all dressed in the zoot suits and all looking terribly sharp and terribly flash. They sell the record because it looks like, I mean, that's not denigrating the records, I think the record's wonderful, but anyway, they do look well flash, and I do think it would persuade the occasional person to buy the record. Having said that, I do think that videos are a very good idea in so much as a band can put so much more into a video, and as long as the band is actually working for the video and working within the video, therefore a video is worthwhile.
Fine. Lady behind you.
Everybody keeps going on about making these videos and everything, but are they going to overtake doing live gigs? I mean, I'd much prefer to go and see live gigs to a video, but are some people just going to concentrate on doing videos that are coming around to let people see them in the flesh?
I think that's a very interesting question. There's a lot of bands saying they don't want to tour anymore. They want just to do videos. It's a subject I think we should return to in a... And tonight to talk about is It's Only Rock and Roll, or is it? Our guests are Countesthorpe College from Leicester, many of whom are musicians themselves, and perhaps will one day be sitting in the 2 seats occupied by our guests, who are their guests, I should say, Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran and Jake Burns from Stiff Little Fingers. Well, just before the news we were talking about, do you want to see your bands live, or are we going to reach a situation where very many of them will just do videos and you won't have the chance to see them, perhaps ever?
I think that videos they're good because they're so cheap and you can get over that image on the video, and it always looks so good because they can always wear all their makeup and do all their acts on that little video, and it's, you know, it's really cheap compared to a concert.
They are not cheap.
Not cheap to make. Have you any idea? Simon, would you like to say how much a Duran Duran video costs?
Well, we've...
years.
I hate to think. No, I mean, we spend... on our last video, we spent £8 grand. Now, we've made one before with a different director which cost us about 16 grand, and it wasn't half as good.
Oh, while I've got a chance to speak, can I just come in here? Yeah, I think you've all got the wrong idea about videos at the moment. I mean, you're saying it'll kill off live music, or it's, you can't reproduce it on stage and things like that. Well, I think it's the wrong way to look at it, because a video, to me, is like a third medium. You've got the record, you've got the live show, and then you've got the video, which is completely different. And some bands will be able to go into videos, some won't be able to go into videos. And I think you've just got to view it as a completely different medium.
But that is a very good point. I mean, is it going to cause some sort of elitism?
I don't think so,
whereby
no.
people who can afford, and as you said, how much they cost. Now, if any of the musicians in the bands from Countesthorpe wanted to make a video, anybody got 8 or 16 grand to spend on a video? Not a hand has shot up, at least not in our...
Yeah, but it costs about the same to make a single in a big studio. You can do cheap videos in the same way as you can make cheap records.
So, I wondered if anybody saw the Not the 9 o'clock News sketch, which was a nice video shame about the record, and whether that, to me, made the point that you can actually dress up perhaps a very average song with a stunning video and sell records that way. Ian?
Well, I think, as Simon just said, the video is like a new thing. It's not going to take away anything. There's still bands who do records and don't play live, you know. So it's not trying to pretend to be a live show either.
Talking of images, how important do you think your image is? I mean, because I don't know, most bands have got 2 images. They've got the image of being on stage, and then you've got your own personal image. And which do you prefer to get across?
Simon, that's directed at you, I think.
For me, yes. Our image as a band is important, yeah. Mainly because we care about it. We care about what people see. You know, like when you go out in the morning, you don't go out sort of, you know, with mud all over your face, do you?
What will your image be like in 3 years' time? Can you tell me?
I don't know. I'm a singer, not a prophet.
We shall be here in 3 years' time.
What will you be wearing in 3 years' time, Paula?
I don't know, probably tattered old jeans and cooing on the dole.
Well, I hope not. Well, there's other aspects about the whole music thing. Oh, I've got somebody desperate to speak right to me.
Well, we'd be talking about image, but how important are the lyrics themselves and what the record says? I feel Jake would have something to say about that.
Well, that's brilliant timing, because I was just about to bring you onto that very subject. Yes. OK, Jake. Lyrics. What? How important are lyrics?
How important are lyrics? Well, I feel that lyrics are... All right, whenever we started, I wrote lyrics and music. And I feel... Well, put it like this, my favourite bands are like The Who, Elvis Costello, people who write about things which they've seen, people who write about things which have happened to them, and The Clash and that sort of people. Bands who have written about things that have happened to them, things that have happened to people around them, and things which are part of their lives. I feel that lyrics are incredibly important. I feel that songs should be about things that you know about. Having said that, I know that...
is it love or is it politics or is it both?
No, yes, exactly, it could be both. Of course it could.
I mean, most of the songs around seem to be about boy-girl relationships, but when important issues like rape, like in The Boiler, which wasn't played very often, I mean, people have got something to say, and it isn't played on radio, so people don't hear about it. And it's often things that are very important to everyone.
I think The Boiler was one of the best records ever released this year.
Well, I have to take a sort of BBC line here. If you heard, B15 did quite a strong and outspoken feature on the whole thing. It was pointed out that it was actually played quite a few times, and the official BBC line was that it was not considered suitable for play during the daytime. I make no comment about that because I didn't make the decision.
It's not until recently, say about 5 years from now, that they stopped singing about women and men and love relationships, and they started to get on about something else, which I think is more important than love relationships.
Why is the old growers test on so late at night?
Well, I'm very glad you asked me that. And it's at the moment it's on, as you probably know, at 11:30, but in 4 weeks' time it's moving till the earlier time of 10:10. So I hope that that helps you.
Damn, I'll be in the pub.
Right, yeah. Some people it will be a disadvantage too.
Well, I'd like to say, with lyrics, isn't an easy way out to sing about love or something like that? I mean, if you're something controversial, a lot of people won't buy it. But if you sing about love, no one's going to care less, are they? They're going to buy it if they like the music.
Well, what would you want to sing about then?
I'm not saying what I'd like to sing about. I'm saying if it was something about the National Front or something, I wouldn't buy it.
Why not?
Because I don't agree with it. And I think I'm supporting someone who...
If it was an
agrees with it.
anti-National Front record, would you buy it?
I'm not sure. It depends whether I like it. I'd probably be more inclined to buy it.
So you say you buy records because of their intent rather than a pretty tune?
I'm not saying I buy it because of that. I'm saying I won't buy it if it had some intent that I didn't agree with.
Well, that's fair enough. Sarah?
I think bands should make a lot more use of, you know, the way they can get across to people to sort of represent us as young people's anger, because, I mean, we have got no real mouthpiece to talk to people. I think this is one medium that is open to us as young people, and, you know, we've got to get our anger across, unemployment, things like that.
Simon, you looked very agitated.
We too,
Yes.
Just now, we were saying, isn't it a shame? Somebody was mentioning that the entertainment seems to have gone out of business a bit, out of music a bit. And I think the biggest thing which has driven entertainment out is didactism and education. So many bands want to educate their audiences.
Exactly.
They go up on their stage and they think it's a bloody soapbox at Speaker's Corner. Oh, sorry.
And it's not.
Right.
That's
And,
interesting, especially, Jake, because you're not exactly backward in coming forward in your views. Do you therefore, you're saying that you don't think that popular music should be used as a...
No, I don't think that anything we've done has ever educated people. I think that what we were saying earlier about a record that we thought was wonderful, etc., didn't have anything. I think a record like the jams down in the tube station at midnight.
Yeah, and UB40.
Yes,
they can do it. They can entertain.
Those sort of people can entertain, and at the same time, you see, I don't think that bands can educate people. I think that sucks. I think that's dreadful. I think what we really want is people to listen to the record, and then on their way home on the bus, be singing the lyrics, and halfway through go, bugger me, I actually, you know, I agree with that.
understand what it's about. Lady behind you.
But you keep going about this, but I mean, the police brought out a song about Northern Ireland, and you can't say...
but the police don't know a damn thing about Northern, because
yeah,
they've
I know,
never
but
been
they
there.
still brought a song out about it.
That doesn't matter. So
Hang
the
on.
Sham 16, and I hate bands doing...
Jake, let the lady finish.
All right.
And their video wasn't played on Top of the Pops.
Well, thank God it wasn't.
But I mean, you can't say that some of the kids who bought that, I mean, they can only be 10 or 11, they're not going to know anything about Northern Ireland, so what difference does the lyrics
Right,
make?
I'll tell you exactly what difference it makes, because the police have got access to things like Top of the Pops, where they can play their video, where they can influence 10 and 11-year-old minds who've got no idea what Northern Ireland is like. Now, I lived in Northern Ireland for 21 years of my life, and there's no way somebody like Sting, who's never been there as long as he's ever lived, is going to tell me...
He's married to a lady born...
I know he's married, I know, I've worked with her, but nobody's going to ever tell me what Northern Ireland is like.
Right.
Well, I agree with Simon about music shouldn't become too didactic, but I do feel musicians should make use of their ability to get across messages, and I find music that does that very interesting.
Can you give me examples of what?
Well, UB40 not particularly a favourite group, but songs like Food for Thought I thought were fantastic because of what they said.
What about subjects like C&D, the royal family, or gay rights? Do you think they should crop up in songs? Do you think that popular music is the right vehicle for subjects like that?
Not necessarily the right vehicle. The top 20 shouldn't necessarily be full of that, but it's a way. Music is a form of expression. I think it has a role to play in society.
Well, we're here going on about should the lyrics mean anything, but a lot of people don't really listen to the lyrics. If you look at the songs in the top 10 or whatever, the lyrics don't mean anything. People don't really care whether they mean anything. Some of them, you can't even make out the words. So it doesn't really matter whether they mean anything or not.
I found that out to my cost many years ago. We have another disc jockey, please, who is, would you like to tell me who you are, Rob?
Southside Whippets. We're a local band from Countesthorpe, and...
This is a band that is at the school at the moment?
Yeah, 7 of us in it.
Yeah.
And we really got a big cult following in Leicester. Fan club, and our songs have got a lot of meaning. I think you should listen to the words of them.
OK, well, we will. Would you like to tell me what it's called?
It's called You've Been Seen.
You have.
nest. You do your very best to eliminate the rest is your only interest. Sometimes things go wrong and somebody hears that cuckoo song and puts you back where you belong. In every public house, by everyone about it. In a nest, you do your very best to eliminate the rest is your only interest. Sometimes things go wrong and somebody hears that cuckoo song and puts you back where you belong. In every public house, by everyone about it.
Well, that was You've Been Seen by Southside Whippets. Is that right?
Whippet! Whoa!
Thank you. What did that mean? What did that mean? What did you just do just then?
To get our image, we needed something to kind of get the crowd involved. And because of the whippet swapping parties around our area, and a lot of woofing going around, we decided that we'd have to...
I think I should explain to anyone who's just tuned in, may think, what on earth are they talking about? These are members of Countesthorpe College in Leicester who've brought their own... This is very rare on Talkabout to have get a group of guests who bring their own music with them. In fact, there's 3 bands operating within the school, so they brought their own tape. Did you record that tape at school? I mean, you've got lots of equipment at school which you can record on.
We've got a Revox and everything, but for this tape that you just that was done last night in a real big hurry. And, I don't know if you could tell that, but...
Well, I was going to ask you, what were those lyrics about?
Well, that meant it was kind of social aspect of looking at relationships between 2 people and you've been seen kind of thing with other people, and it's very deep. I can't explain it, really.
Well, that's a lot of good, isn't it? Can't explain it one song.
I'd like to go back to what was said about lyrics. And I think the records I don't listen to the lyrics on too much, apart from the title, are love songs. And I think if you're talking about something really political, you take the fun out of music. It's not so enjoyable because it's beginning to get into the political side, isn't it?
Yeah, but what's wrong with that?
Well, then, it's not music, is it? It's not entirely music. It's more...
It's a bore, yeah.
It's just more.
If music's personal, politics are personal as well. You know, and what you were saying about minorities, you know, gay rights, unemployment, CND, I mean, they're part of society. They should be heard. You shouldn't ignore them.
Do you think that women in music get a fair crack of the whip? I shall ask this lady behind me, having turned my back on her, sorry.
Well, it depends who you're talking about. I mean, I like the music, but heavy rock music is a bit sexist, to say the least. But then you get to the music that isn't, but I can't name any offhand.
Do you find that sexism, I mean, offensive personally?
Well, no, because I go and see them, you know, I've gone and seen them in concert, so I can't pick faults with them too much. But then you get groups like Thin Lizzy who do songs about other things like genocide and such like, and have other such nice little things like Smash the H blocks on their sleeves. And I might not agree with all that, but I still go and listen to them.
Yeah, you are consciously aware of what they're doing.
Yeah.
What about how women are portrayed in music generally? Let's leave heavy metal out of it for a bit, because I think that's pretty well known.
I think most of the time women are just the sort of dolly bird sent in front,
keeping the men amused. And I think until society becomes less sexist, there's no hope of the music business becoming less sexist.
Applause, applause.
I think with women, I think you've got to be really pretty to succeed. I mean, if you've got a good voice, well, yes, all well and good, that helps. But it also helps if you, wear glossy lipstick and you've got a really good figure and a good face. I mean, that's obviously going to, be a lot better for you, isn't it?
Well, I'd like to go back to politics in music. I don't think that... I think everybody's got a position where they could stand up and say something about politics. I don't think they need to involve it so much in music. I think music should be more for enjoyment, like Pete says.
Do you not think it's possible to enjoy music that's got some rather deeper meaning than I love you?
Yeah, to some extent, but when it gets very deep, a lot of people won't understand it anyway. I mean, people who want to know about that thing can go to a meeting about it.
Well, what about a record like Ghost Town by the Specials, which was a #1 record? It was political. In fact, as you probably remember, it came out just before all the riots of last summer and turned out to be quite prophetic. Now, I'm sure that not everybody who bought that record, it was a very big seller, would necessarily have bought it because of the politics, but they bought it... Well, I don't know, you tell me, was that a record you liked or disliked, if you remember it?
Well, personally, I disliked it because I don't like the Specials, but...
Why don't you like the Specials?
I just don't like the music.
Well, that's fair enough.
Can I just go back to what Sarah was saying about the girls being like sex symbols? For example, take Kate Bush. Can you imagine what she'd be like? She had really short hair and buck teeth, sort of leaping about on stage singing, wow, everybody thinks, oh my God. But because she's what she is, really pretty, everybody thinks, oh, Kate Bush, I think fantastic.
So that's an interesting point. Welcome back, Jake. I thought you disappeared on us for a bit. While you're out of the room, we've got on to sort of women in music, and I'd like to ask you and Simon, actually, whether you agree that we're talking about women artists now, whether they succeed because they're pretty, or what do you feel?
I don't think enough women artists succeed. Numerous reasons. One, I do think that rock and roll is a male-orientated business, which makes me sick, having said that, because I don't think it should be, because I do think that various women artists are, if not the equal, then certainly better. I mean, I'm thinking of my favourite artists, which include people like Billie Holiday, Bessie Smith, and that's going back and coming up to date, Janis Joplin, and coming right up to date, Bananarama. I think that a lot of women artists have not gotten the credit that they deserve.
Going back to lyrics and the image of women in songs, to go back to heavy metal, I mean, say kids of 16, they get kind of conditioned by it, that it's reinforced by the parents and the friends and the media. And this image of women comes over as just being sex symbols and there for men's pleasure, which comes into everything. It's just songs, the lyrics of them are so stupid and people just believe them.
What would you like to see happen about that?
I'd like to see, more. I mean, there are bands that don't talk about women like that, but all these songs about boy-girl relationships and women being passive and all this, I think a lot more should be done. There ought to be more women in the rock business just to get it over.
But in fact, there's probably more now than there's ever been, and I think the barriers are well down.
I think that because the woman is pretty and she sings, she's probably got a nice figure, she doesn't get taken seriously. Somebody like Kate Bush, who writes all her own music and her own lyrics and everything. Boys say, oh yeah, she's got a great figure, isn't she pretty and all this. They don't take her serious.
Okay, what about someone like Joan Armatrading, who, and if she's listening, I'm not being in any sense rude, but she makes no deliberate effort to have a glamorous image. She just goes on her talent and her songwriting ability, and she has a very healthy reputation.
I could say I don't know much about her, but I think that just some women get exploited, like Debbie Harry, for instance.
But don't you think they want to be exploited? They don't have to have it happen to them.
I think they do. If the record company makes a good image of them, a good package, an LP, posters and everything, people just think of their images.
Yeah, but Debbie Harry didn't have to do that.
No, but there are some women who don't, but they probably might get pushed into it. If you look attractive, you're probably going to get further.
Well, it's a depressing conclusion, Penny.
Back to what Jake said, I think he's quite right that a lot of women in the business are better because they have to be twice as good as the men to get into it, for a start, to get noticed.
I'd like to go to a point that was printed, I forget what music mag it was, about Phil Oakey said that if you haven't got women in your band today, you don't make it in some way. Like his two girls standing on the stage prancing about. What is it doing for them? Is it boosting his ego? Because it doesn't do nothing for me to go out and buy the record.
Well, I don't know, I think you'd have to ask Phil that, but I remember him saying that, in fact, that the two girls have said that they've come up against a lot of criticism since they joined the band from male fans, earlier male fans of Human League. Well, I just thought I'd tell you that anyway, here.
Well, so far everyone's been talking about women as singers, as musicians, and when there's like a band of women, it's treated far more as a novelty. You know.
Well, that's sad. Another record, please, from Diane, I believe, and tell us about, because this is another tape, actually, from Countesthorpe College, isn't it?
Yeah, this is Altered Minds by Failsafe Fashion, a band from the college, and three of them are at the college at the moment, but one's left. And I'd like to dedicate this to my brother, everyone down at the White Horse, Frank Nichols, Frank Carrigan, Malcolm Nichols, and all my family and everyone else I know.
Jolly good. Well, this is, in fact, called Altered Minds.
Happening in a world that lives in fear, eternal fallout, waiting for the all-out. Don't go underground where memories are only sounds remembered yesterday. Tell me where the kids can play.
Altered Minds, Altered Minds, the name of the tune. I'm thinking of Altered Images, obviously, from Failsafe Fashion, which is one of the school bands from Countesthorpe who our guests on Talkabout tonight. And in fact, Michael, who's sitting right beside me, said that he's in this band. I mean, that was sounding extremely professional. Was that made at school, that tape?
No, that was actually done in a studio, and it doesn't sound as professional as it should have been.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. How much did that cost you to make?
An awful lot of money, Rick. Well, probably not. Do you want me to tell you?
Yes.
Well, it cost £125, which I think is a lot of money for what it is. I mean, it is difficult for bands to start, because there are so many good bands, but, I mean, £125 to go in a studio, and we did that specifically for this. I mean,
I hope there are record companies listening who will pick up the phone and sign you immediately. I mean, the stuff dreams are made of, but perhaps it will happen to you.
I think it's very strange that a band like Duran Duran can afford £16,000 on a video, and yet guys like myself and Michael just can't even afford to get it. It doesn't sound a lot compared with that kind of money, but just 120 quid together. I'm not saying they don't deserve it. I'm just saying that it's a funny state of affairs when it's so difficult to get a small demo together. Yeah, a band like that can spend 16 grand on just getting their face on the telly.
Well, I hope we'll be able to come back to Simon in a minute about that, but I'm quite sure Duran Duran didn't start off by having that kind of money. I'll have Michael again.
Yeah, well, I think that would be another way that record companies could change, because it would be like an apprenticeship for them. I mean, it would be a future investment. I mean, that's a direction that money could go in supporting young bands.
Right, a big question to finish. Anyway, do you think that the music business or music is taking itself too seriously? It goes in waves, and I think in the early 70s it all got terribly serious, and then punk came along and gave it a great kick up the rude bits, and music got exciting and fresh again, although perhaps not any less serious.
I think there's room for all kinds of attitudes in the music. I mean, there's bands like UB40 and so on, which make really good music, and they have a good attitude as well. But then there's other bands that are just purely there for fun, because, you know, perhaps they've not been in a poverty situation or something like that.
I think the problem could be that at the moment I think there really are too many bands. It is in fact very easy, money barring, to go into a studio and do a demo. You can do one for far cheaper than Mike did in some crummy backstreet studio and still get known. I think it's become a little too easy, and talentless people are getting in the music game.
Well, we've been talking about, in this whole programme, we've been saying that music is so serious, and it should really be there for a more entertainment type thing, enjoyment and stuff.
Yeah, you seem to be very divided down the middle on this topic. Rob?
I think a lot of young bands who do start today just don't think about the seriousness of it, and they just go in because they enjoy it. Like at our school, the music block, kids just pile down and pick up a guitar and they just play it, and Malcolm lets them do it and they enjoy it, and that's how it starts off.
You are lucky. You really are. Simon, the question of Duran Duran's cost of their videos. We have 1 minute left. I've got to ask you two important questions. The lady here, Penny, very briefly.
Simon, do you really think that your Leicester fans were a load of monkeys in zoos like you told them behind stage after your concert?
What? Monkeys in zoos?
People here who went to your concert came round to the backstage and you called them a load of monkeys and threw fruit at them.
Simon is looking very surprised.
Oh, no, there was lots of people waving outside, so we thought we'd give them something to eat. Just a joke.
Would you like them to throw fruit back at you?
They did. Yeah, they did. Yeah. And snowballs.
And snowballs. Well, I think that's put that situation in question. So anyway, we have to finish. This has been a fascinating talk about. I'd like to thank Jake Burns from Stiff Little Fingers, Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran, and the musicians and others from Countesthorpe College in Leicester. Thank you for a fascinating talk about. I'll see you all next week. David Jensen, are you with us?
I am certainly with you. Good program. Thank you, Annie, and everybody. It's 8 o'clock.
David Jensen.
Thank you, chorus girls.